Hello, I'm Wang Han, and this is the scientific research for this presentation. The subject is that the interactions between choosing emojis and its context with the personality impacts. So here, the context are the independent variable, while the personality traits are the covariate. Prior to the research, many researchers have did similar research on the emojis and the personalities, and especially their correlationships. They have found out, or we can say most research found out that the three aspects of the Big Five personality scale, the extroversion, the agreeableness, and the neuroticism, can significantly affect how people choose different emojis, whereas openness or conscientiousness do not have many effects, so that we eliminate these two aspects in our study. And prior to that, in 2018 to 2019, there are also some research did in the chatting apps or the social media. Through the nature of the private message and the public message, the researchers did so many interviews and research on how people choose different emojis under different contexts. Here is the total experiment timeline. I actually did 2 pilot tests before I actually did the formal questionnaire. The pilot 1 was to testify the Chinese version of Big Five personality scale to testify its reliability, and we actually recruited 6 or 7 people to do this test. And for the second pilot, we did the survey item on the emoji valence. That is the positive valence, the negative valence, or the neutral valence. We choose and sift valence items that can be further chosen into actual experiments. We chose emojis from 40 emojis, and we selected 12 of them. And then we did the actual questionnaire. We adopted 18 scenes, or we can say 18 contexts, to investigate participants' responses to different contexts. Then we collected the personality data by adopting the Chinese version of Big Five personality scale, and we collected the demographic data. And finally, we did some interviews to conduct the deep study to 3 critical items. Well, that will be introduced later. And we collected qualitative data because we really did some deeper interviews onto their participants' perspectives of those changing interpretations and changing meanings through time of those 3 emoji icons. For the first pilot, we actually collected data from 7 participants and through the online questionnaire. And for the second pilot, we surveyed on the emoji valence. As we said, we actually designed a questionnaire of 40 emojis, and participants need to rate all of the emojis from 0 to 10 for each item. 0 represents the most negative emotion, and 10 represents the most positive emotion. After all, we add up all the scores together for each emoji, and we had an average score. So later, the average score can tell me how to classify all those emojis to which valence. This is kind of based on the quantitative data background. And here is specifically how the transition of this comes from. We fabricated 18 scenes later. Well, that is the actual experiments part. We fabricated 18 scenes with 9 positive contexts and 9 neutral contexts. We actually eliminated the negative context because the pilot research suggests that it is unnecessary. Well, people all know to use the negative emojis under the negative context, whereas in neutral context, there are many various answers. All the emoji sources will come from the Emojipedia or the WeChat and Twitter limited emojis. Here is the data analysis for this pilot and actual environment experiments. Just as I said, for the pilot experiments, we calculated the mean score for each emoji. For example, the face with tears of joy has an average score of 7.33, and this is categorized as a positive choice. Later, we interviewed 6 participants on 3 critical items: the smileys, the facepalm, and the laughter. This interview focused on the reasons, the interpretations, and change in frequency in using those emojis. And this is a much deeper interview. For the actual experiment, we recruited 147 participants with a mean age of 17-year-olds. In total, 98.64 participants use domestic social media app, and they all use them in a relatively high frequency. Like 18 or 70 or 80% of them use the social media between 1 and 5 hours. So we can say that those teenagers are familiar with how emojis are running. Participants finish the 18-question conversation by choosing emojis, and then the 40-question Big Five personality test, and finally finish the demographic test. For scoring session, participants was given 1 point each time when choosing a positive emoji, 0 point for neutral, and -1 point for negative emoji. Therefore, each participant would obtain a composite score that ranged from -8 to 8 as the emoji score. And finally, we used a generalized estimating equation to analyze the effects of the context and choosing emojis, well, with the covariates of the personality trait. Here are the 12 emojis that were employed in the actual experiment. And these are the 3 critical items that were included in the interviews. For the further expectations, we can conduct studies on more emoji icons, on more personality traits, on more variables such as age, and we actually can reach wider samples. Thank you.